These 7 mistakes could be destroying your lure fishing setup without you even knowing it. You could have the best lures, you could have the best gear, but you're still not catching fish. And that's because you are probably making some of these mistakes, man. The first thing that I want to talk about, and I think a lot of people are guilty of it, man, I've been guilty of it, and that is using old or worn out braid. The sun, salt, UV rays will eat away at your braid over time. I don't care if the manufacturer says it is salt proof, it is absolutely not. That's not the way that it works. Salt eats through everything. And if your line is compromised, you don't want to have a fish on there and just have it snap off. If that's your PB, you're going to be mad. So look, it's really easy to fix that problem. What you want to do is you regularly want to check your braid for any frays, for any nicks, for anything that feels not smooth on your braid. If you've got a part on there that doesn't feel smooth, the rocks can nick it, even weed. Over an extended period of time, your braid rubbing on things, just things, it doesn't have to be rocks or poles or anything like that, just things, will end up compromising your line. You don't want that. Check for nicks, check for frays, check for any fluffy bits on your braid, and if you see any, just either change it, cut that piece off, and you should be golden. Just make sure that you change your braid regularly. And going along with your braid, on the end of there, you usually have a fluorocarbon leader. Check your fluorocarbon leader before every single session. Just run your finger down the fluorocarbon leader. If it's got any nicks in it, if there's any blemishes or anything like that, just change it. I mean, it's easy enough to do, and you'll thank me later when you've got a huge freaking personal best on there for this year, and you've got solid fluorocarbon, and you've got a solid braided line, dude. The second mistake that a lot of us are guilty of is using dull and rusty hooks. Dude, if your hooks aren't razor sharp, they're gonna struggle to penetrate where it needs to penetrate and hook the fish just out of the water and onto the bank. You need sharp hooks for that to happen. And rust. Nobody is a fan of rust, because once something gets rusty, it eats the metal. All hooks, whether or not the manufacturer says that your hooks are rust-free or they're rust-resistant, they're not. They're absolutely not. Salt water is absolutely, it eats everything, man, even your hooks. So if your hooks are rusty, that is gonna weaken your hook. If you get a nice fish on there, that hook can snap off. 1, you lose your fish. 2, that fish now has a hook in its face and it's cruising around, man. So, dude, just check your hooks every single session. One of the things that you can do to make sure that your hooks are sharp enough, and I'm not gonna show you because it makes me cringe just even thinking about it, but I know guys that do it. They take their hook, I can't, and they drag it across their thumbnail or their fingernail or something. And if that hook doesn't catch somewhere as you're dragging it across the thumbnail, it's not sharp enough, dude, and you need to change it. Also know a lot of guys who just carry like a little hook sharpener in their bag, so when they're out and the hook gets a little bit dull, all you got to do is get this hook out of my finger for one. Ow! All you got to do with the hook sharpener, you get a really good hook sharpener and that's it. You're done. It doesn't need a lot. It's not like you're going into the workshop with this huge thing. Hook sharpeners are great. They're small. They can fit in your bag. Keep your hook sharp, man. Number 3, the third mistake that I see quite a bit is they use the wrong size hooks for the lure that they're using. If your hook's too big, it's not going to allow the lure to swim right, especially if it's a surface lure. If you've got massive hooks on this lure right here, it's not going to swim properly. It'll impede the action and it won't work right. We all like getting a bend in the rod, so the smaller fish won't be able to hit that lure properly. They won't be able to hook up, and if the hook is too small, it won't hold good enough when you do get a bite if it's too small. Make sure that your hooks are the right size for your lure so it swims properly, and dude, so fish can hit it properly and you get a good hook set, dude. For soft plastics, what you want to make sure is that you've got, especially if you're using weedless hooks, make sure that you've got enough belly for that hook to go like that, because that is where your hook set is going to be. You want to make sure you've got enough belly in your hook on a soft plastic. Make sure that you don't get the hook stuck in your finger and they fit the lure that you're using, dude. The 4th mistake, and I don't know if it's very common, but it can happen. It has happened, so I'm gonna mention it anyways, and that's allowing too much slack in your line when you're fishing. If you've got a huge bow in your line, you're gonna miss bites. You're not going to be able to feel it. When it's windy, I get it, it's a little bit harder. So in order to try and fix that, if you're going out and it's windy, try and have the wind at your back, not coming straight across. Because if it's coming straight across, then you've got that big bow and you could be missing bites because you can't feel them. What you want to do is make sure that when you're retrieving, whether it's windy or anything like that, make sure that you can feel that lure on the end. If you can feel the tension of the lure during your retrieve, your slack in your line should be fine. If you've got too much slack in your line and you do get a bite, you don't have enough, there's too much room for you to get that hook set. So make sure you can feel that lure at the end. There's some tension on there. If it's windy, try and have the wind at your back. If you're on a surface lure, it's a little bit easier because you have to have that tension anyway to work the lure properly. So just make sure that you've got tension on your line. Here's the main one. And I know it's really, really great to get a fish on the line and to hear that reel just spin and bzzz. When you get that sound, it's great. We all love it. But you need to make sure that your drag is set properly. If your drag's not set properly, if it's too loose and you're getting the bzzz, we love it. I don't know how else to explain it. But if you're getting that, it might be too loose and you're getting a weak hook set. There's not enough resistance to get the hook set properly. If your drag is too tight, then you could get a hit. There's no cushion for that fish to run, and then your line could just snap. We love that sound, but that's too loose. I think to have a good drag, what you want to do is you want to turn that 2 full turns, just like that. Get your hand on it. That's still a little bit loose. Give it another turn. Give it some full turns. It's okay. See the line on my fingers? There's some resistance there, but the reel is still turning. That's a good drag set. I'm not saying it's perfect, but that's good for me. Drag too loose, you're not gonna get a hook set. Drag too tight, your line can just snap. Don't do that. Get it right in the middle so it's nice and good. You still get to hear that. Here's one that will ruin your entire setup. It'll have you losing fish and it'll ruin your actual setup. And that is using the rod guides as a hook keeper. Don't do it. Inside these rod guides is ceramic. And these little sharp bits from the hooks, just a little tiny nick could ruin these inserts in here. And then if they get ruined, they're like little razors and they can cut your braid like a hot knife through butter, and it's absolutely no joke. Then you got to send the rod off, then you got to get it fixed, and you're out of commission unless you have another rod. Just don't use the actual circle part for a rod keeper. What you can do is, if your rod has, did I say rod keeper or lure keeper? Hook keeper? I don't even know. So if your rod comes with its own hook keeper, use that. What I do now is, you can see that my lure is on that little guide thing. However, what I'm doing is, instead of using the loopy bit, I'm using the foot. The metal part to tie my hook onto, and I probably shouldn't because there's still room for error. Put your hook on your bail arm. You can use the rod keeper. I did it again, not the rod keeper. You could use the built-in hook keeper on the rod, or you can go out and you can get yourself an aftermarket hook keeper that ties onto your rod and use that. But whatever you do, don't put your hooks in the circle bit. Another big one, and one that we're all guilty of all the time, and that's not allowing your lures to dry after every session and putting them back in your tackle box after a session. I mean, yes, put them in your tackle box after a session. Don't leave them on the bank, because man, I'll come by and I'll pick them up. But when you get home, man, like we said earlier, salt will eat through anything. Just give it time and it'll eat through anything. And it causes rust, and rust isn't good. And I mean, you pay good money for these lures, man. Make sure that you rinse your lures off with fresh water every single session, and your lures will last longer. If you go home and you jump in the shower, take your lures with you, dude. Hang them up all over the shower and just spray them down. But whether you do that in the shower, in the sink, on the garden hose or whatever, don't put them back in the box. Because what happens, even if the box has drainage holes in it, they're not going to dry. If you rinse them off and you put them back in the box, what's going to happen is the condensation will build up in the box, and it will still cause rust. It will still ruin your lures. I'll rinse them all off, and then I'll lay them out on a kitchen roll. If it's sunny outside, I will lay them down on on the patio table that we've got up there. Rinse them, dry them, then put them away, and they will last a lot longer, and they'll really do you well, man. I mean, fishermen, lures, fishing reels, waders, all that stuff. For a lure angler, those are our tools, and you want to take care of your tools, and they'll take care of you, man. Those were the most common, the biggest lure fishing setup mistakes that lots of people make. Seasoned anglers, beginning anglers, dude, everybody makes them. So what are you going to do now with this newfound knowledge? You're going to check your stuff. You're going to check and make sure that your braid isn't frayed and compromised. You're going to make sure that your fluorocarbon has no nicks in it. You're going to make sure that your hooks are sharp. You're going to make sure that they're not rusty. Rinse your stuff off. Make sure you got enough slack in your line. And dude, you should be golden. And this season, you're going to catch some fish. Just remember that stuff, man. Now get your butts out and go fishing, man.